So this is Bernice. Tell me the story, Bernice.
Okay, where do you want me to start?
So
Where I was
you're
saving the money
Uh-huh.
uh, because I had saved it initially for a trip to Jerusalem and the Holy Land, which got canceled. So I chose instead what was called a pilgrimage to in the footsteps of St. Paul. And so I went with this group, not knowing anybody else in that, and found out that most of the people, almost all the people there were a group of Filipinos who traveled together every year. And the only two people who were not of that group was myself and another lady who happened to be a priest in the Episcopal Church. So I didn't find that out, though, until just before we boarded the plane that was going to take us to Athens, where we started out. Um, anyway, on this trip over, we had to stop at the airport in Vienna, where we would pick up our plane for Athens. And there must have been about a 4.5 hour layover there. So I and some of the other Filipino ladies, whom we kind of met by smiles and eyes, were wandering around the shops to kill some time. And we might bump into each other now and again when we were looking at the same thing and make a comment. Some of them, I gathered, were not English speakers normally, even though they lived in this country. I have found out later there was a youngish couple who were English speaking, and they would sometimes say a few things to me, but otherwise, until my other my other Caucasian friend joined us in Athens, I didn't have anybody else that just to pal around and talk with. And so I was wandering around the shops and looking at all the things and everything and finally I looked around and I don't know if I didn't have a watch on or if I wasn't paying attention to the time. And I looked around, didn't seem like any of these other ladies were around me anymore. So I thought, well, maybe I looked around to see if there was any signs. I didn't see any. Didn't see any signs of time, and I hadn't really paid attention to the actual time because I hadn't thought I'd wandered off like that. So anyway, I went back to the main airport, went up to the desk that we had, I don't know, we'd gotten some information from them or had to get our tickets, I think, exchanged to go to Athens. And I said, I'm supposed to be on this plane number, whatever, for Athens, and I don't see anyone around. And the lady behind the counter looked at me and she said, "Where have you been? I've been looking for you." And I said, well, I was just in the shops. She said, "We've been calling." Well, I never can understand any of those airport things over the wire. You can't understand them. And if they had been in English, they would have been in a very broken English or in German.
Yeah.
So I was kind of taken aback, and she shook her finger at me. And she said, "You did this on purpose, didn't you?"
Oh.
And she was incensed, and I just was. And I thought, who do you think you're talking to anyway? You don't shake your finger and holler at me. And so I didn't want to get in on her thing. I just said, I didn't hear anything. And so she said, "Well, So I said, is there a plane, another plane that I can take so I can join the group? And she said, just a minute, I'll see. And she stomped off into the back room behind the little counter.
So you missed that plane?
So I missed that plane. It had left about 20 minutes before or something like that. So this was like about mid-afternoon. And so I said to her, after I found out I'd missed the plane, I said, is there another plane I can take? And so she stomped off into the back room. And then she came out after a while. She said, there's another plane tomorrow morning, 10:25, I think it was, and you can take that one, but you have to pay for that ticket yourself because you didn't use your ticket. You weren't here. And so I don't think I've felt like debating her.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said, all right. And no, I think I did ask her, well, couldn't I just use the same ticket going the same place?
Mm-hmm.
So she went back again and she said, all right, you can use your ticket, but
Mm-hmm.
you'd better be here at, I think it was 10:25. So then I said, well, is there a place I can stay overnight then? Because we didn't have any overnight accommodations. We were supposed to leave for Athens right
sure.
away. So she said, we don't take care of those things here. There's a counter over there, you can do that.
Not nice.
Not nice. She was so angry with me, you'd think it was all her personal money and
Yeah.
everything. And I was just not going to. I was really entranced to be in Vienna.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't going to
Magic.
let her ruin my time.
Right.
But then I got to thinking when I walked away from there. No, I walked away from there and I found a counter that said travel something or other, accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went over there and turns out there was a big, expensive, fancy hotel right across the street from where we were. And it was the only thing there. So I walked over there and paid a lot more, the most I've ever paid for a hotel room. Got this big, fancy room. It was very modernistic and all shiny glass and chrome and everything. It was ugly, but it was, very modernistic looking. And I thought, well, it's a new experience. So I left my bag there and thought, well, it's not evening. I could maybe go into Vienna because we were out at the airport. So I went to the travel counter to see if there was a bus going into Vienna. I thought, surely the airport outside of Vienna is going to have a bus going in there. Well, they didn't. And so they said, no, there isn't. Most people, if they're going to Vienna, they have accommodations meeting them here or something. And none of them were very nice. But a lady who had been standing near the little kiosk where I was overheard me. And so she came over to me as I walked away from there trying to figure out. By then I felt a little desperate to get into Vienna. I wasn't going to be spending the night outside on the outskirts of Vienna
and
and not
go.
get there.
Yeah.
So she said that there was like a city bus that had a route that would come and go to the airport all the time. She said and so I asked what time. Well, she said they come every so minutes, like maybe 15 or 20 minutes or so. All you have to do is go stand out there at the bus stop where I could see where it was. Nothing was in English, which complicated things. So I went and stood out there, and I thought, well, okay. And she said, that bus will take you to the town square, and everything is there, and there'll be a little booth there giving you information about where to go and what to do. So I thought, okay. So I stood outside, waited, and sure enough, in 15 or 20 minutes, the bus came, so I went in. I was excited. Here I was, going into the town of Vienna, the
Good
city.
for you. Good for you.
Yeah. Oh, and I was excited. So I got in, got out. Sure enough, there was a huge town square surrounded by fabulous looking old buildings and everything. And the square itself was full of activity, all kinds of things going on. But I walked around every place, and I couldn't find any booth talking about travel or anything like that so I could get some information. And I think I asked one place, or tried to ask, and they didn't speak English, and I couldn't understand them, and so we weren't getting any place. I wanted to know if there was like a tour bus so I could go see the city that way. And so one lady then understood enough and pointed me to this little thing. Didn't look like a travel kiosk, but there was a counter in this little bitty, I don't know, you couldn't call it a building, a little spot in between some other buildings. And she said there was, what did she say? No tour, whatever. We managed to understand each other that much. So I went back out in the square, and I looked at my time. It was before 5, I think. So I thought, well, I might as well go see some of these big buildings anyhow. And there was a fabulous looking church ahead of me. And I went there. It was one of these beautiful old cathedral places, just absolutely fantastic. So I looked through the statues and all of the things there, did a little praying, and went to another museum-looking kind of building, got in some parts of that. I hadn't spent any money there yet, but I still hadn't heard anything or seen any signs. What I wanted to do was go to a concert, so I could say I went to a concert in Vienna. That was always a dream of mine. I love concerts. I love violin music, and I had always thought the pinnacle of concerts would be to go to a concert in Vienna. So that was what I wanted to go to Vienna for more than anything.
Yeah.
So then I went back out, and I could see there was a lot more activity going on in the square. And it was getting, I think it was around 5-ish when I did that, because I was kind of watching my time. If I was going to get to an evening concert, I had to find out pretty soon. So I wandered around a little more and kind of listened and watched, because there were groups of people standing in little groups, apparently talking particularly about something. And there were little entertainment groups going on here and there. And then I looked over, and I saw this guy all dressed up in a costume. And I can't think of the name of this person. One of the masters in music. Anyhow, whoever he was, he had that look, and I immediately thought, he looks like a concert person. And so I watched what he was doing, and people were coming up to him, or he was going up to them, looked like he was selling something. So all of that went around in my mind, and I was thinking, maybe he's got tickets to a concert. So I walked over and waited till he finished with another lady, and sure enough, she handed him money, and he handed her some kind of a ticket-looking thing. So I went over and told him what I was looking for, and he spoke English. not great English, but he spoke English and he knew what I wanted. And I said, I'm looking for a concert this evening because it's the only time I'm going to be here. And he said, oh, you're exactly in the right place. That's exactly what I'm doing. And he had tickets to a concert that evening, starting about 7:30 or something like that. And so I don't even remember how much it was. I would have paid my last penny or my card or whatever they would have taken to go to that concert. And so I said, okay, what transportation can I get there? I'm walking now. And he said, oh, you can walk there. It's within walking. It's only about, I don't think he said a mile. It's down that way within walking distance. And so he described a couple things along the way that I might see. And I still had lots of time. And by then I was beginning to get a little hungry. I don't think I'd had, I don't know if I ate, I can't remember if I ate anything in the airport before I left. But no, I ate a little something in that sumptuous room. But I found out when I got down to pay my bill that I was paying for what was there that I thought might be, one of those things for. So anyway, so that was the last I'd had to eat though. So I was getting hungry, but there was a large table area with people sitting around and the waiters would come out and you're sitting out in the air. It was a beautiful, beautiful day, just comfortable outside with no coats or anything like that, just an ideal kind of thing. So I went and sat down at one of the outer tables so I could keep track of what I could see in case I needed to be aware of something else going on. And it was German-sounding food, some of which I paid attention to all my life because my father was German and we cooked some of the food there, but I liked to go to German restaurants to get more food that was authentic. So I recognized a couple things on the menu and ordered them and sat there. And I sat there, talk about sitting and how you feel in a new place and everything. I remember sitting there at that table, looking at tables of people around with 2 or 3 people or just a couple or little kids sitting over here and thinking, I'm sitting here in Vienna, Austria, having a dinner.
About to go to a concert.
Yeah.
God's gift to you.
Yeah. I felt so lucky, so blessed. It was just, I can still get the feeling. I can see I wish I don't need a picture of it for myself. I kind of wish I had a picture of it, but I don't think I was into taking pictures as much then. I was more into experiencing it. Mm-hmm. And so after a while, it still was, I would have had lots of time, but since I didn't know exactly where this place was, I wanted to start out for the concert early so that I wouldn't get there late or get lost. And so I started walking the direction this young man had given me. And I walked quite a ways, it seemed. And then I saw a building which sounded like it might be one of the descriptions he gave me. Big, white, glorious looking thing. Lots of nice columns and statues on it. And I walked over there. I didn't see a name that I could recognize anyway. And thank goodness I had as I walked in the door, a young lady came toward me who spoke English. And I told her that I was looking for this concert and was this it? And she said, oh no, some people take us by mistake. But she said, you just have a little farther to walk yet and you'll be at, I can't remember the name of the concert hall. I don't know that I even have any paperwork from there. I can't believe I didn't do that because I'm likely to do that a lot, is grab papers to remember things by. So anyway, I went a few blocks farther on, saw other people walking towards, so I was beginning to feel pretty confident. And then I saw these men outside all dressed up in their tuxes and more European style than ours, and walked over there, and sure enough, that was a concert. I had my ticket, so I handed the young man the ticket, and he said, "Are you meeting somebody here?" And I said, "No, I'm all by myself." And he said, "You're going to a concert by yourself? Oh, I'm going to move your ticket up farther," or I forgot what he said. He's going to advance the ticket from where it was, so you can enjoy yourself. So I wound up about 3 or 4 rows from the concert podium.
What an adventure.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was
Bernice.
one of my best.
It's almost a parable for your life.
Well, in a way. So anyway, I sat there through that concert. Oh, I enjoyed every single second of it. And I didn't mind sitting there alone.
Yeah.
It was kind of strange in a way because it was a place where I would have pictured myself with somebody.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind. And then at the end they played this big, I should know what song it is. They played this big thing that, who is this man on TV who directs this orchestra, and they have so much fun, and they always play this one, I think might be the national anthem of some country, and everybody gets up and dances and everything. Every time I see that on TV now, I go, oh gosh, I remember that.
In Vienna.
Yeah. And that was the only time it would have been nice to have had somebody with me.
Yeah.
But I had no regrets whatsoever. I was sitting in a concert hall in Vienna.
That's pretty wonderful. That's wonderful. And my